What's up everybody, Steven Z Killer here. It's time for a new reaction video. But before that, 75% of you guys watching are not subscribed. Now recently, I was able to obtain the silver play button because we hit 100,000 subscribers. Now I'm pushing myself forward even further. We're going for 300,000 subscribers. We can't hit this goal if you're not part of this community, so hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Join the Discord so you don't miss out on any of my videos when I go live on Twitch, live on YouTube, or I upload a video. Links in the description. Don't forget, I do want to upgrade from silver to gold at one point. So help me out today and hit that subscribe button. Now, let's get into the video. What's up everybody, Steven Z Killer here, bringing another reaction to some more Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, Ruin DLC, Explain Theory, Lore videos, all that kind of stuff. If you guys enjoy this stuff, go check out more videos on the channel because I've done a couple reactions already to some other lore explanation videos and also all the hidden secrets and Easter eggs within the DLC. And also, I will be posting a, making a playlist of it, but you can check out all 3 streams I did when I first played and did a complete playthrough of Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Ruin DLC. If you guys are interested in checking that out and seeing all the spooks, scares, and everything that happened while I played it for the very first time with no spoilers, no nothing, by all means go check that out on the channel. Now, the playlist should be made around the time frame this video goes up, if not definitely later, so check out the channel's playlist, either that or just go over to the live tab on the channel. You should be able to find the videos easily, or streams I should say. But today we're checking out a video that was recommended to me on my Discord by Daco. So I'm looking forward to checking this one out. I actually just watched a video that involved Daco a little bit. It wasn't his video, but he was in the video. So check that out. That uploaded earlier today. But this one is all about the Mimic. That video was actually all about Glamrock Freddy. So check that out as well. But this is going to be everything you need to know about the Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Mimic. So let's get into this. This is probably going to go more into the lore, the books, and all that stuff. I'm not an expert on that stuff. I've seen a lot of MatPat videos, aka the film or game theory stuff on FNaF, and also other videos in general, like from Super Horror Bros and a bunch of other people. So if you have more suggestions, comment down below and or post in the reaction idea section on the channel. Now, the link will be in the description for this original video. Show your support to Daco's channel by subscribing and liking the original video. Show your support. These lore videos are always interesting, and let's get into the Mimic's lore.
The Mimic! Hello everyone, today's video we're going to be talking about the Mimic in Security Breach Ruin. I will be giving you all the information you need to know about the Mimic in the Tales of the Pizzaplex books, then moving on to the DLC Ruin, and how Tales of the Pizzaplex builds up to Ruin. Finally, we're going to try and fill in the gaps and theorise all about the Mimic and how Gregory and Vanessa fit into that. First, I'm going to give you all of the literal facts that are in Tale of the Pizzaplex, all about the Mimic.
Alright.
I'm doing this video because in Ruin,
I believe that was
really
talked about in one of the other videos, like the tiger thing.
Maybe in a future game. I think a lot of people are confused about who the Mimic is because they haven't read the books, and the only way at the moment to get more information about the Mimic is to read the books.
I'm a Dragon Ball fan. I don't read.
So if you're a bit confused about the Mimic and you want to know more about him, this video is for you. So let's get into it. So where did the Mimic come from? The Mimic is rumoured to be built around the 1980s. He was built by an engineer called Edwin Murray. Edwin was an engineer hired by Fazbear Entertainment to make new animatronics and creations and repairing stuff.
He's also like talked about in one of the other videos I watched. He's like a like very similar to Henry. Basically, in the books he's basically supposed to be representing Henry, I believe.
Edwin actually created the Mimic for his 4-year-old son. He was made to keep his 4-year-old son entertained while he was working. The Mimic was originally created for good, right? It wasn't made as a terrible, you know, horrific creation. It was made for good. The clue is in the name, the Mimic. The Mimic imitates behavior, copies what it sees.
Yep.
It's basically its own AI. The Mimic will learn and copy things that it sees. If I made the Mimic watch 10,000 Dorko videos, the Mimic would literally be me, okay? We don't want two Dorcos. I hope that makes sense. The mimic just imitates behavior that it sees. Unfortunately, in the story, Edwin's son dies in a car accident. And because of this, obviously, Edwin is filled with grief about what's happened. When Edwin sees the mimic again, it reminds Edwin of his son. So it ends up with Edwin destroying the mimic violently, beating the mimic with rage and grief about what's happened to his son, and abandons the factory with the mimic still inside, supposedly destroyed. What did I say earlier? The mimic learns and imitates behavior. The mimic does survive being destroyed.
He probably picked up some of his the guy himself, like how he creates and stuff like that. He probably mimicked how he creates and was able to repair himself. I have a sneeze. Excuse me.
By Edwin. So the mimic
felt
has
that.
seen Edwin, POV, smashing him up with rage and anger and agony and grief. The mimic's gonna learn that. You'll see what happens with the mimic learning that behavior. So like I said, Edwin abandons the factory with the mimic inside. Fazbear Entertainment obviously want to know what's going on. What's happened to Edwin? Where are our amazing animatronics that Edwin was supposed to make? Fazbear Entertainment get a team sent out to the factory to investigate what's going on. Now, unfortunately, the team that are sent there meet a terrible fate. They all get killed by the mimic, because the mimic has learned to be aggressive and angry, learnt it from his creator, Edwin. He kills all of the team who were sent there to the factory. The mimic has now learned and has been programmed now from looking at what's happened to be incredibly aggressive. The mimic hides in various costumes in the factory to ambush the team who go and investigate where he is. So,
are those costumes what? Okay, because I remember watching a video and the mimic didn't have this costume on when I played the game. Apparently, this is like a secret thing or an unlockable thing. So I'm assuming that's where this costume comes from.
Remember that, because that's a big detail that you see in Ruin of the mimic using costumes. In the distant future, during the construction of the Pizzaplex, the mimic is back. The Glamrock animatronics and the mimic was...
Is that supposed to be a fan-made game that involves the mimic?
Sent to the Pizzaplex. Now, this is where the lore gets pretty crazy and really, really cool. During the construction of the Pizzaplex, we know that below that underground is the old iconic FNaF 6 location, the pizzeria. They wanted to make that pizza place a museum for people to go and visit as an attraction at the Pizzaplex. Fazbear Entertainment hire a team of workers to clean up the old pizza place that was discovered and to turn it into a museum. Now, Fazbear Entertainment decide to send some of the animatronics down there to help the workers clean the place up. And one of those animatronics is the mimic. One of the workers tries to program the mimic while they're down there to help remove the animatronic parts. In the pizza place, there's a bunch of old, rotten endoskeleton animatronics.
Yeah, this is supposed to be the part they talked about where basically he was programmed to rip the heads and arms off of animatronics that are down there so that they can move them easier, and then he does that to people themselves.
So they're removing the parts from the animatronics, the heads, the legs and stuff. So one of the workers programs the mimic to help do that, because, you know, removing parts is going to be a lot easier for an animatronic to do because they're super strong. So at first, the mimic works doing that. Programming works. The mimic starts to help rip open animatronic parts, pull the heads off and stuff. The mimic then turns onto humans, the workers who are there, and starts ripping their limbs off. Because it's programmed to because it was programmed to rip open animatronic heads and legs and stuff. But then it turns onto the humans and rips them open instead. And the mimic wipes them all out. Everybody down there is wiped out by the mimic. That site is then sealed off, okay? Because of what happened with the mimic. Because of the disaster, what happened with the mimic, Fazbear Entertainment completely seal off the pizza place, and the mimic is now currently in there. And for now, the pizza place is done for. That's it. In this story, Fazbear Entertainment, we're going to have it as a museum. That explains why the pizza place looks like a construction site going down there. Now, this is a bonus story, which I thought was really cool about the mimic. A group of teenagers at the Pizzaplex discover the abandoned construction site of the pizza place. They actually find a ventilation system that leads directly into the pizza place, and of course, because it's been sealed off, the mimic is still inside. Now again, in this story, all of the teenagers are killed by the mimic in different ways. The mimic hides in animatronic suits again, ambushes them, tricks them. And one of the biggest points that I want to make in this...
I still gotta go back and watch some of those, somebody, I forget what channel or whatnot, but I watched the Silver Eyes, like, someone took all the concept of the Silver Eyes and made a whole, like, comic book-esque style movie. I need to go back and watch more of those, because I think there's, like, 2 other ones I still haven't watched. I need to watch more, and this one, I hope this one eventually gets it so I could see, like, some more about the Mimic and stuff, because I can't wait for more people to do stuff like that. It's always interesting to see how people create that stuff.
That goes forward to Ruin as well. At one point, they find a radio in the pizza place. The Mimic intercepts that radio signal, pretending to be somebody calling for help who needs help, who is trapped down there. They believe that somebody's there, and they go into the room, and it's the Mimic, okay? So... very big detail, very similar to Ruin, obviously, because the Mimic can intercept radio signals, walkie-talkies, you know, and can pretend to be people. The Mimic was pretending to be somebody else trapped inside. Very similar to Ruin, the Mimic pretending to be Gregory. Now, I'm going to read something because in that story, the teenagers find notes about the Mimic. When the team created the Mimic line, they didn't want to have to program in every show routine, step by step. That was a lot of coding. So they just programmed the Mimic to basically watch and learn. Not only could a Mimic fit into any costume, it was designed to observe the other routines and then mimic them. It seems like the original Mimic began mimicking not just the other animatronics, but also people. And it did in ways that weren't intended. I'm not sure what it did. I can just make out the words misconstrue, scared, potential disaster, and deactivate remaining Mimic endos. Like I said earlier, guys, at that factory, Edwin and the team were making Mimic animatronics, and unfortunately, that Mimic animatronic turned out to be a disaster. That is it so far about the Mimic in the book. Turned out to be a disaster.
Oh, no, okay. I was like, wait, what was that? I saw the change, but literally it was an outline from that.
That
okay.
is it so far about the Mimic in the books. That is the story so far about the core Mimic. That is the Mimic animatronic endoskeleton, not the virus, okay? Remember that. And like I said, the Pizzaplex stories are not finished yet. So I will probably in the future have to make another video about the Mimic in the future.
And not to mention what we're gonna get so much more lore and whatnot when the VR2 comes out. That's gonna give so much information, or maybe behind the scenes and all that stuff. Oof.
Because the epilogue is not finished yet in the books, all about the Mimic. It's not finished yet. The Pizzaplex is a lot older than we originally thought. Let's talk about the virus, because the virus is in the Pizzaplex books as well. In the game lore, we count that as Glitch Trap. Basically, the virus in the stories is the Mimic. The Mimic programming was installed in this big tree in the center of the Pizzaplex. Basically, it's a virus. The virus can control and change all of the Glamrock animatronics, tell the Glamrock animatronics what to do, change their personalities, make Monty aggressive, so it's extremely similar to Glitch Trap. A very specific detail in the book about the Mimic programming. It takes stories from the past and creates new scenarios in VR, AR, and any Fazbear Entertainment video games.
Okay.
Basically, it's a tiny little bit complicated, but try and think about it. The Mimic is its own character, its own animatronic, its own endoskeleton. But there's also the virus, but that's also a part of the Mimic as well, if that makes sense, because the virus is...
Can't read that, but thank you for subscribing. Shout out to you.
The virus was from the programming of the Mimic, if that makes sense. The programming that was used to make the Mimic animatronic endoskeleton was also used that created the virus in the Security Breach Pizzaplex books. Like I said at the start of the video, the Mimic learns. It mimics things. If a specific chip was scanned in FNaF VR, that had the memories and the agony of William Afton's murders and William Afton's story, I wonder what the Mimic would mimic if that was scanned into the games. The Mimic virus mimics Afton. That's why the virus in FNaF VR, Princess Quest, etc. takes its form as Glitch Trap. The Mimic is mimicking Spring Bonnie, aka William Afton. And remember, that part, what I'm talking about with glitch trap and stuff is just a theory. That isn't a fact. That's it so far with the Pizzaplex stories. Now, let's move on to Ruin and talk about what ending's canon, what happened with the Mimic, why the Mimic was sealed down there, who sealed the Mimic before Ruin as well. It's pretty crazy. The Mimic is its own thing, yes, but glitch trap in Security Breach is a part of Mimic as well. The canon ending in Security Breach is Princess Quest. Princess Quest is the canon ending in Security Breach. I
kind of agree with this.
% confident. There's too many hints. There's too much evidence to show that Princess Quest is canon. Number one, all of the drawings that we collect around Ruin from Gregory are all of the different endings in Security Breach. The only one that isn't there is Princess Quest. All of the other endings are not canon. Steelwall did that to show that Princess Quest is canon, okay? That's it. When you go into Vanny's hideout, you see the Princess Quest machine with the iconic sword from Princess Quest stabbed into the arcade cabinet machine.
Yep.
That's basically saying that Glitch Trap has been defeated. It's done. Glamrock Freddy is another big one. When we see Glamrock Freddy, it's headless. With the Princess Quest ending, before that, we get the cutscene of Glamrock Freddy getting disassembled by the help bots. His stomach gets ripped up. He gets destroyed by Vanny. But Gregory manages to keep his head. There's a lot more evidence of that, but those are the basics. Princess Quest ending is the canon ending of Security Breach. Gregory saves Vanessa. Glitch Trap is killed. No more Glitch Trap. Glitch Trap is dead. It's over. No Glitch Trap at the end of Security Breach. He's gone. Of course, Glitch Trap is destroyed. The virus is destroyed around the Pizzaplex. The virus is gone. The main problem is still there. The Mimic is still around.
Itself.
Let me just say this. So, Burn Trap never happened, okay? Burn Trap never happened in Security Breach. But Burn Trap would have happened if Gregory did not save Vanessa. The virus was making Vanessa turn the Mimic endoskeleton into Burn Trap. Like I said, guys, earlier, the Mimic was mimicking endoskeleton.
You know, I've not seen someone put the Endoskeletons model and Burn Trap's model together. Yeah. He would fit inside there with the corpse of William Afton, and he would just be replicating what William Afton as Burn Trap would be. Yeah, that... Like, he's a little bit lower, but the Mimic would be able to tighten himself into there.
Skeleton into Burn Trap. Like I said, guys, earlier, the Mimic was mimicking Afton, okay?
Yeah.
That's why the Mimic wanted to get turned into like this Burn Trap amalgamation of like the old suit and stuff. It never happened anyway, guys. That is not canon. It never happened because Gregory managed to save Vanessa before that ended up happening. I really, really hope that makes sense. One of the problems,
it makes sense to me.
Virus within the...
Because that would mean that Vanessa and Gregory, when they escaped and everything, two things. It would make sense for them to go back and seal up where Burn Trap would have been created, because they have the knowledge of that, especially Vanessa. So that would make sense for why there's poured concrete at that door, that segment where you explore. And also in another video that explained why the ending couldn't be the one where Burn Trap comes back and then gets grabbed by the blob. The blob and Burn Trap basically get caved in on in that area. The blob shows back up in the Ruin DLC for a split second inside the walls. So the blob is still around. And also there's no rubble. There's no ceiling collapsed area down there when you get down there. No one would have been able to recreate that area based off of the cave-in. So, yeah.
The Pizzaplex has now been destroyed, right? Burn Trap never happened. None of that ever happened. But the problem is still there. The Mimic is still alive. The Mimic is still down there.
Yep.
So although the virus is gone and Vanessa's been freed, the Mimic is still down there. The Mimic is going to cause problems later on. The major problem is not dealt with yet. Although the virus is gone, the Mimic's still there.
And I said this in another thing. I think there's going to be a part 2. This DLC felt like part 1. Because 1, Cassie possibly survived at the end. Because Roxy said Cassie at the end of the credits. And also, there's also a theory that the first half of the mess of Gregory talking in the elevator was definitely Gregory, and then there was an interception of communication by the mimic, and the mimic would be able to basically make the elevator crash. It like hacked it or something, and made it seem like Gregory dropped the elevator, but it was actually the mimic. There's a possibility that's the case, and also it could have been Petty because of the fact that if I'm being stuck down here, I'm not letting you be free, kind of situation. And then the next bit of DLC could be similar to like Gregory and Freddy, but it's now Cassie and Roxy, while trying to fend off the mimic animatronic. Because at the end of everything, it does seem like one, Chica's done, two, Monty's done, and then there's still the roaming Freddy body with the prototype stamped on the foot, which a lot of people are thinking that that is not the original Freddy suit or Freddy body. And there's also still the present. Why is there a present inside Freddy's chest?
We've now Vanessa set free, and the happy ending actually happened. Vanessa and Gregory work together to stop the mimic for good. The first thing they do to stop the mimic is to seal the mimic up. So the mimic is trapped somewhere so he can't escape or anything. If you go down to where the mimic is sealed, you can see there's a backpack that says Gregory. That confirms that Gregory was there at some point. Also, there's a ventilation system with a handprint, a very interesting detail. Why would Steelwool do that? How did the mimic get a walkie-talkie in the first place? Ironically, a Glamrock Freddy walkie-talkie. This is how the mimic was trapped and sealed. Gregory lures the mimic down into the storage. We know how aggressive the mimic is. You know, the mimic would definitely follow Gregory down. When the mimic follows Gregory, Vanessa then seals the entrance up with concrete. Gregory barely and luckily escapes by going through the vent. Like I said, guys, it was a close escape. Gregory, unfortunately, dropped or accidentally left his walkie-talkie in that room where the mimic is. That then obviously sets up to ruin. Gregory is the one who sealed up the mimic. So, of course, he's going to mimic Gregory. Can you imagine the past of the mimic? Tricking so many people in the past, killing a bunch of people, you know, being the king of mimicking, and then get sealed away by Gregory because Gregory tricked him. The mimic is going to be so angry about that. He wants to kill Gregory so badly. The mimic has learned so much about Gregory as well. Camera footage at one point of Gregory roaming around in the cameras exploring the Pizzaplex. The mimic will have all of that because of Glitch Trap the virus. The mimic would have been watching Gregory. That's why the mimic is so good at mimicking Gregory, because he has all of this information about Gregory in the past. He even mimics old voice lines that Gregory had in Security Breach.
Are you there? I'm trapped. Freddy, are you there? I'm trapped.
That's
Oh, wow. Okay.
why the mimic has a walkie-talkie. That's why the mimic is mimicking Gregory. And that's why the mimic knows Gregory's best friend is Cassie. And that's why the mimic uses Cassie as bait, pretending to be her close friend Gregory to lure her into the Pizzaplex to set him free. It's not only that, we've got to talk about MXES. MXES is a security system programmed by Vanessa and Gregory. It's another thing to stop people from going into the Pizzaplex being lured by the mimic. The security system was made by Vanessa and Gregory to stop anybody ever setting the mimic free in the future. That's why the mimic throughout the whole game tells Cassie to destroy the security nodes. All of those security nodes, so many of them, eventually led down to where the mimic was. And because there's no security anymore at the end, the concrete seal gets destroyed and the mimic gets set free. That rabbit that we were terrified through the whole playthrough of Ruin was actually a good guy. He was programmed by Vanessa and Gregory to stop people from letting the mimic escape. This is also back.
Another thing that just dawned in my head right now. That entrance is open. The way Cassie got in to the underground is still available for the mimic to go up. Like literally, the mimic could easily climb everything and get out. Now that like, there's no reason for Gregory to drop the elevator, actually. So that was just the mimic. Like, he does not, yes, the convenience of that elevator would have been nice, for him to get out easily, but he can still get out easily by going the way Cassie made to get to where the mimic was. So yeah, there's no reason for Gregory to drop the elevator because there was still a way for the mimic to get out now.
Up by the Candy Cadet story. The Candy Cadet story talks about a mother and a boy who trapped this monster in the basement. That's basically
which was representing Gregory and Vanessa. Oh, possibly.
Talking about
Maybe.
Vanessa and Gregory trapping the mimic down, literally a basement, yeah, underground. The monster in the story starts to learn the mother's lullaby, basically lures the boy into the basement. Mimic then learns Gregory's voice and then lures Cassie down there to get him out. Unfortunately, the mimic succeeds. Cassie gets tricked by the mimic throughout the whole playthrough. Cassie destroys all of the security nodes, shuts off MXES, which then gives power to the forklift that breaks the concrete seal. And the mimic's set free. I know there's a couple of different endings, but I do think that's the canon ending for Ruin. And it's leading up to a future game with the mimic, Vanessa, Gregory, and probably Cassie as well. Because at the end of that, when the elevator's cut off, Roxy does call out Cassie. To me, that shows that Cassie is still alive from the elevator collapsing and Roxy saves her. I do have more notes. These are like little extra notes for some questions that you might have. The timeline is in the game lore. Security breach happened. Princess Quest ending. Vanessa and Gregory go back to deal with the mimic and they succeed. They seal the mimic up. They create a security program. That leads to Ruin because unfortunately Gregory dropped his walkie-talkie. The mimic now has something to lure people in. The mimic knows all about Gregory, so he'll know about Cassie. That then results into Cassie being lured into the Pizzaplex by the mimic. The mimic succeeds. The mimic now has an escape, which then is probably going to lead to a future game. Security Breach 2, a future DLC, or just a separate name completely. Just a new FNaF game focused on the mimic.
The game never ends.
I gave you guys the facts about Security Breach and Ruin, and then we theorized a little bit at the end and tried to make our own story a little bit. But I feel like that fits in.
Who knows what else we're gonna get that adds more to the story based off the second VR game.
Quite nicely. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Do you have any questions? Do you have any ideas of your own? Put them in the comment section, please. Didn't want to make it too complicated. It does get a little complicated with the virus and stuff, but I hope that helped a little bit. I hope you guys can see now that the mimic is great. You know, the mimic. I think the mimic's going to be a great villain. I'm really glad Steelwool.
William Afton is gone. It's now all about the mimic. Everything about William Afton has been destroyed. He's buried, burnt, dead, everything. He always comes back. No, he's now just been copied. So that I agree with.
Took this route to make like a new villain that's secretly been there the whole time. It's pretty exciting. And it's going to lead up to a future game, guys. 100%. I'm 100% confident in that. We might get more mimic stuff in Help Wanted 2, maybe. But I do think it's going to be more than that. There's going to be another game that happens after Security Breach.
Oh, yes. Well, and if anything, we like I said, I feel like this was a part 1 of DLC. There's got to be a part 2.
Guys are going to ask, what's the deal with the blob? What's the deal with the blob? Like, what's going on with the blob? Who is the blob? Why do we see blob at the start of Ruin? Steelwool did that to show that although Burn Trap didn't happen, the blob is canon.
Blob's canon and is still roaming the pizzeria.
Exists. It wasn't just there. It wasn't just there for the Burn Trap.
Ooh, and also I wonder how much it's changed since the version that we saw in Security Breach. We only get to see his head, the Funtime Freddy head. So who knows? There could be more added to the body within the time frame.
Ending the blob. The blob is real. So reading all the Pizzaplex books about the mimic killing a bunch of people down at the pizza place, I think the blob is all of the employees, workers at the Pizzaplex who got killed by the mimic. So originally we thought, oh, the blob is killing Burn Trap because Burn Trap is an afton virus, and you know the blob is like the spirits of the kids from FNaF 6, and I don't think it is anymore. I think the reason why the blob went after Burn Trap, and the blob will probably still be hunting for the Mimic. It's all of the workers who got killed at the Pizzaplex. And the reason
Yeah, that
why
makes
the
more
blob
sense.
is still lurking around the Pizzaplex is because he's still there for a start. The blob's still there. The blob's basically like a guardian of the Pizzaplex, if that makes sense. All of the workers who know about the Mimic. The blob's like lurking around the Pizzaplex still. Still, we'll put the blob at the start of Ruin to show that the blob is still there. It's still canon. Maybe in the next game, we're going to see the blob again. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. It was a long one, but I really hope that helped. I think
It was a good breakdown video. It was a lot of information, and I agree with a lot of it too.
Put them in the comment section, any theories. But I feel like that was pretty solid. Take care, lots of love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all.
There's still so much that we don't know when it comes to the security breach and everything. There's just so much detail and more to break down. And of course, future more discoveries, and of course upcoming games, and hopefully a sequel to the Ruin DLC or another game entirely. Who knows? I feel like I said, I feel like there's got to be a part 2 to the DLC for security breach. I don't think it's going to end there, and I don't think they're going to just make a brand new game to continue where Ruin left off. It's got to be another DLC for security breach itself, and hopefully, praying it doesn't take almost 2 years for us to get that DLC like this one almost was 2 years. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this reaction. If you have more suggestions, you know what to do. Comment down below. Post in the reaction idea section on Discord. And don't forget to subscribe. Check out more videos on the channel. And stay tuned for more. And check the channel out daily. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, later.